Hey team, so this morning we're in Unit 3, Lesson 4, and the focus here is this idea of rounding puzzles. So what's going to be kind of tricky about today's lesson is kiddos are going to need to really think about the rules of rounding to help them solve today, and they're going to have to be like really paying attention to place value. So attention to precision comes up today. So they're going to be solving using rounding to the nearest 10 or the nearest 100, and they need to be super focused on like what actually is the problem asking them to do. So now we come back to this idea of like story problem setup. What does my work look like every time? Annotate, jot, tasks, knowns, unknowns, without a doubt. That's our do not pass go. I don't care if the math is right. The math cannot be right if they're not crystal clear on what they're solving for. So let's look at problem of the day. Again, this video series is to help you be able to teach the problem. I'm not modeling for you what to say to kids, right? I'm teaching it to you. Problem of the day. Cam Francisco is trying to figure out what the biggest and smallest numbers are that round, a couple of typos, to 600. Help him figure out what these numbers could be. So, story problem, I read it once, then I go back through. Cam is trying to figure out what the biggest and smallest numbers, are that round to 600. So that's a jot, right? Round to 600. Help him figure out what these numbers could be. So I need to do a couple of things. I'm trying to round to 600. So my tasks, task 1 is find smallest number that rounds to 600. Then task 2, find largest number that rounds to 600. Okay, so those are sort of my two tasks. Let's see, let me make sure I've got that. Figure out what these two numbers could be. Great. So I'm sure that my big problem or big question is crystal clear, and I've got tasks to help me get there. So now I'm trying to get to 600. I'm going to use a vertical number line because the kids have been rounding for the past 3 days to help them get to help them use vertical number lines. So I'm also, in addition to my vertical number line, going to use a place value chart right here. And I know that I'm trying to get to 600. That's where I want to go. So here's the thing. This question doesn't ask me to use round to the nearest 10 or round to the nearest 100. It just tells me to find the biggest and smallest number. So remember, the way we know what number can go up to 600 is if we're trying to round to 600 even, we know that a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? This is crucial. We know that all of these numbers round down and all of these numbers round up. So, if I was rounding, I would need to say 600 and anything that had a 5. Oops, I transposed my 4 and my 5. Sorry about that, guys. Anything that has a 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 right here is actually going to make this number go up to an 8 or up to a 7, right? So if this was 600 and if this number was actually changed to 650, where would that number round to? Yeah, go up to 700, so it can't be that. If the number was changed to 640, the number would go, yes, down to 600. So let's actually look over here. We're only doing single place values, but I'm naming for you guys. 641 down, 642 down, 643 goes down, 644 goes down, 645 goes down, 646 goes down, 647 goes down, 648 goes down, 649 goes down. Because if we were looking at the tens place value to tell us what to round, right? This 8 isn't going to help us tell us what to round. So if I'm trying to round to the nearest 600 going this small and be 649, right? But that seems like a lot. I don't think that's really what this question is asking me. In fact, I think because I'm trying to round to the nearest 600, the question is asking me about hundreds. So I actually ask myself then, okay, what range am I talking about? What 200s then is this in between? So if 600 is my is where I want to round to, it becomes my midpoint. Then if I've got a top range and a bottom range, 100 down from that is 500, 100 up from that is 700. And remember how we talked about a 0 right here goes down, a 1 goes down, a 2 goes down, a 3 goes down, a 4 goes down, but a 5 right here means it goes back up. So I would say, I know 6500 or 650, 650, that all goes up. So if that rounds up, the very next number underneath that is 649. 649 rounds, yes, down to 600. Whoa. But I didn't do, and this is the largest, right? This is my largest number. But if I'm trying to actually find the smallest number, I have to do the same process. So let's make a second number line, a second place value chart. I want to round up to 600. So if I start at 500 and I put a 0 right here, am I going to round up? No, I'll round down. What about a 1? A 2? A 3? A 4? A 5? Yes, that's the first number that rounds up. But I want, and am I looking for the biggest or the smallest now? Right, I'm looking for the smallest number. So the smallest number that I could use to round up would be 550. What's going to be tricky about today is there's this odd use of like the place value chart. So when we think about the visual anchor that you guys put up in terms of like nearest, so the kid can identify, I'm looking at the ones place, the tens place, or the hundreds place, that's going to be crucial. Now I think today's problem of the day was by far a very rigorous problem. The try one more is actually more aligned to what kids are going to do today. Name 3 numbers that round, this is an important word, to 400 when rounding to the nearest 10. Super crucial. So, I'm going to put a star right there, just so I really know. So my jot would be round to 400. And my second jot would be use nearest 10. Uh-oh. So when I'm using the nearest 10, it has to also go to 400, like 2 things have to happen? Yeah, absolutely, that's what we're talking about. So task 1, find 3 numbers that round to 400. But remember, task 2, all numbers have to round using nearest 10. Whoa, yeah, it just got super heavy. So let's think again. Let's get this vertical number line up here. Let's put this up here to help us out. So using the nearest 10, rounding to the nearest 10, I'm trying to get to 400. Well, remember, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Any of these guys round down. Any of these guys round up. So what am I trying to get to? 400. Let's make that my mid place. And I'm just trying to pick 3, so they can be below the number or above the number, and I'm trying to get them to round. So let's see. If I'm shooting for 400, and let's try numbers that are above. So my top range would be 500. My bottom range is, yes, 300. And I'm still trying to round to the nearest 10. So round to the nearest 10, still go to 400. So if I want to stay here at 400, What could I put here to round down? I could put a 0, but we've already got a 0. So how about 410? Does that round down? Yeah, it does. Let's plot that. 410, that rounds down. Awesome. Let's try another one. Instead of erasing, I'll make a new place value chart. Yes, you can go right up to 420. 420, it rounds down. Let's stretch and do a number that's below. What number could round up to 400? Remember, use this chart to help you, this number line to help you. Yeah, I could put a 5 right there. So my range is at a 300. And if I put a 50 in that tens place, nearest 10, where's that number going to go? Right, it's going to round up. So today the kids are solving rounding puzzles, and their work is going to look a little bit like that. It's basically like using a number line, and then also I think grounding themselves in that place value chart. Find a number that could round blank, given blank. So looking at workshop, it gets more specific. Now I want just the largest number that rounds to this number when rounding to the nearest 10. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right, so really it's a lot of work for the kids to do. They're going to get tricked up, but the point of today is puzzling, and the point of today is for them to really think about place value. I think like bang for your buck, pushing the expectations around jots, largest, or annotations, largest number, 830, nearest 10, right? Your jots are going to be super crucial today. And then really grounding kids back in this place value chart is going to be helpful. All right, thanks team.